Well, good morning, everyone. We are here at the end of another month. We are at the end of August. Hard to believe. Heading into the last quarter of the year. Kids are back to school. Things are getting back into our normal routines. Hitting the height of hurricane season, so a lot going on. Football season's about to start. I'm very excited about that. But as we are at the end of the month, that means our stats are available for the end of July. So with that, let's get into the numbers. This is for Polk County, Florida. And let's get into it. So Polk County saw 1,303 closed sales in July 2025. That's compared to 1,418 in July 2024. It's a decrease of 8.1%. So the market definitely slowed from a year ago. Cash sales as a percentage of closed sales, 20.1% of all sales were cash sales compared to 22.2% a year ago. That's a decrease of 9.5%. The median sales price, $306,700 compared to $315,999. That is a decrease of 2.9%. And then the average sales price, $321,350 compared to $327,365. That's a decrease of 1.8%. So we did see home prices decline year over year for the month of July. The median percent of original list price, sellers received 95.7% of their original list price. That's compared to 96.9% a year ago. That's a drop of 1.2%. The median time to contract, so how long does it take to get a contract for your home? It's taking 55 days, so almost 2 full months, compared to 41 days a year ago. That's an increase of 34.1%. The median time to sale, 97 days to get to closing compared to 86 days a year ago. That's an increase of 12.8%. New pending sales, 1,307 compared to 1,367. That's a decrease of 4.4%. New listings, 1,717 new listings compared to 1,810 a year ago. That's actually a decrease of new listings by 5.1%. Pending inventory, 1,694 compared to 1,819. That's a decrease of 6.9%. Active inventory, 6,349 compared to 5,633. That's an increase of 12.7%. And then finally, month supply of inventory, we are at 5.3 months supply of inventory for Polk County. That's compared to 4.4 months supply of inventory a year ago. That's an increase of 20.5%. Still technically a seller's market, but really consider it more a balanced market. And there'll be clearly some zip codes that are very much a buyer's market. Tune in and we'll talk a little bit more about what this means for you moving forward. So if you've been following these videos over the last several months, you know that the market has slowed. It's actually the slowest market we've had in about 10 years. Prices are starting to drop, not drastically, but countywide and certainly in Winter Haven, we saw price drops both in terms of the median sales price and the average sales price. That's all good news for buyers. Unfortunately, a lot of buyers aren't taking advantage of it, and that's the problem we have. Rates have gone down in the last week, so that's some good news. I think buyers are getting used to rates that are going to be a bit higher. Certainly, I don't think they are waiting on the rates to go to 3.5% again, or 3, or even 2.5%. I do think that there are buyers waiting to get the rates into the 5s, which may happen by the end of the year, but we'll see. I think the biggest issue, and I've talked about this before, is the uncertainty, the economic uncertainty. Inflation actually went up last month, so that's going to slow things down, possibly due to the tariffs. Unemployment is not kind of where we want it to be. So there's a lot of things that are keeping buyers being cautious. And in an uncertain economy, buyers are going to do that. They're going to be cautious. People in general are going to be cautious with their money, not knowing what's going to happen ahead. I think as things maybe stabilize, we'll start to see buyers come back to the market, especially if the rates stay a little lower, maybe continue their downward trend. We're still seeing a lot of new construction in our area, and my advice to buyers is that's probably where you're going to get the most deals. Most builders are offering the interest rate buy down that you're looking for. Most of them are in the high 3s or 4s, maybe the 5s, depending on the builder. And many of them, they're not 2-1 buy downs. They're actually for 30 years. They're the lifetime of the loan. They're offering closing costs paid, and so I think there's just a lot of opportunity there with new construction. You're going to pay lower homeowners insurance as well. You've seen me kind of emphasize this for a while, but it really is a good deal right now. You're going to have less issues with repairs and maintenance. Although a new home is not perfect, you're still going to have issues here and there. But anyway, I do think that's an option. I think for sellers, the challenge is how do you compete with the new construction, especially if there's new construction in your area. That's a real challenge. And if there is new construction in your area and you can wait, it may make sense to wait. Obviously, there are times where in our lives things happen. Marriages, divorces, deaths, things like that happen, new jobs, and so there's a necessity to move. And if that's the case, then especially if you have a time restraint on needing to move quickly, you gotta price aggressively. You gotta be on the low end of the market value range, especially if your home is not well maintained and updated. If it's well maintained and updated, you can maybe shoot for the middle of your market value. But if you're going to shoot for the high end, that's really for the people that can afford to wait and have their homes on the market for a while. I've worked with some of those clients. I just closed on a house on Friday. Clients had been had been listed with me for almost a year, but she could afford to wait. And she didn't want to give the house away. She did want to have an opportunity to get closer to family, but it wasn't a I've got to do it now kind of thing. And so we could afford to wait until we got the right offer. We did eventually get the right offer through lots of different marketing venues, and went under contract and closed. So there are buyers out there for you sellers, but patience is the number one thing. Or if you can't be patient, then you've got to give on price. It's one or the other. You're not getting both in this market. I think as rates go down, sellers will be better positioned, but right now buyers probably have the upper hand overall. Most sellers are giving some kind of seller concessions, although they can't give as much as a builder can usually. But that's kind of what we're seeing in the market. I think that watching what's happening with our economic indicators, if the Fed lowers interest rates in September, while that doesn't necessarily equate to the mortgage rates dropping, I do think likely we will see mortgage rates drop some then. That might be a good opportunity if you're a buyer to jump in, not wait for the rates to go to their absolute bottom, because that's when all the buyers are going to come back, and then you're going to have competition for the homes that are out there, and then our inventory is going to get less and less, and you're going to have more competition for fewer homes, and that's going to mean prices are going to go up. So that's kind of what I see. My advice to my sellers, depending on their situation, will vary. I have one that could afford to wait, and I told them to wait. People get surprised because how does that help me? It means that, that's one less house that I'm going to list. But the reality is that I believe it's important to I take my role as an advisor consultant very seriously. I don't believe it's my job to convince people to sell or buy. It's my job to help them understand the market in which they're entering, and then to help them make the best decision for their situation. And obviously I hope that the people that I said it probably doesn't make sense for you to sell right now, I hope that they will contact me when they are ready and when the market changes and things like that. And usually I find that that's the way it works. But I believe it's too big of an investment for me to try to convince someone to do something that ultimately is not in their best interest. So if you are contemplating a move, either buying or selling, and you want to reach out, let's talk. Let's see what might be in the cards for you. The one other thing I want to mention is that as of August 18th, Hometown Heroes loan is available, closing cost assistance, down payment assistance. Tune in and I'll do a little video about Hometown Heroes, probably with one of my lenders. But you need to jump on this early. There's not as many funds as there have been in previous years, so we do expect those funds to go quickly. But that's a really good opportunity for you to get into a home with little to no money down, as I just did a video a few weeks ago about a client of mine who was able to do it, not with Hometown Heroes, with another loan program, but it is possible. Anyway, as always, if I can assist you, please reach out to me, give me a call. Comment below if you'd like a buyer guide or a seller guide. And as always, remember, you can't miss with Chris. Have a great day, everybody.